Happy midnight, everyone! The moon is shining, so I hope all of you are smiling. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to build this gold farm that I designed and built on the Skyfall SMP. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Now before we jump into the tutorial, I want to talk a little bit about what kind of design farm I have here so that you can decide if it's the right one for you. This farm is 100% passive, which means that the player stands on an AFK platform about 24 blocks above the farm, and the pigmen are killed by fall damage. So essentially what's going on is that we have pigmen spawning on these magma blocks like you just saw, and then inside the trapdoors there are turtle eggs. All hostile mobs will attempt to break turtle eggs, so the pigmen are trying to walk towards the turtle eggs, and they're being lured into the drop chute, and then they fall a sufficient amount of distance to die. And then down below, they're falling onto these platforms where they drop their golden rotten flesh, and all of those drops are getting picked up by a series of hopper minecarts on this track. The hopper minecarts are then just going to deposit all of those drops into our storage system. So that's the fundamentals, that's kind of the abstract of how the farm works. This means that it's 100% AFKable without any kind of clicking script, but it also means that it does not produce swords or golden bars, only rotten flesh and nuggets. It also does not generate XP, so if you're looking for a gold farm that generates XP, this design might not suit your needs. It is nevertheless a very efficient farm. It produces a ton of gold per hour. We'll actually do an AFK test later on in the video so we can see exactly how much. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. Step 1 for making this farm is going to be to pick a good location on the roof of the nether. In order to get to the roof of the nether, you're going to first need to go up to where the bedrock is, and then dig around like I have until you found a bedrock that has a Y level of 127. You can tell this by, if I pull up my F3 screen, you can see on the right hand side it says target block and then the coordinates of that target block, and we want the middle one to be 127. So this bedrock that I'm looking at right here has a Y coordinate of 127, and that's what we're looking for. So once you found a piece of bedrock that's at Y equals 127, build a ladder up to it, hold your forward key so that you're always going up on the ladder, and then throw an ender pearl. And then you should pop up onto the roof of the nether. And then you can, I recommend building a portal like I've done here so you can easily get back and forth between the below nether and the above. Now that we're on the nether roof, it's time to pick out a good location for our gold farm. Basically, the only thing that makes for a good gold farm location is that it is in a nether wastes biome. We can tell this by, again, pulling up our F3 screen, and you can see on the left hand side we have biome, Minecraft, nether wastes. So we're actually here already, but if you aren't, you can just walk around on the nether roof until you find a nether wastes biome. Our farm is going to have a footprint of 27 by 27 blocks, and you need to make sure that that entire area is within a nether wastes biome. So just double check to make sure that none of the corners are in maybe like a basalt delta or a soul sand valley, because these parts of the farms will not work and it'll decrease the rates. Also, I'll briefly mention that I use a F3 mod that makes my F3 a little bit more organized and colorful. The vanilla F3 screen still has the same information in roughly the same places, so I'm sorry if it looks a little bit different than yours, but hopefully you can find all these tags that I'm talking about. Now for me, I'm already in the nether waste, so I'm just going to build my gold farm right here. Once you've decided on a location for your gold farm, go ahead and build up until you reach Y equals 200. So that's going to be my middle coordinate right here, and we want it to be 200. So, as you can see, here we are at Y equals 200. This is where the bottom spawning platforms are going to be. So, let's get to building our farm. So we're going to treat this block as the center, meaning we'll have one spawning platform over here, one spawning platform over here, one over here, and one over here. The spawning platforms are all identical, so I'll just show you guys how to make one, and then I'll do a time lapse of me building up the entire thing. So, we're going to go ahead and make our first platform diagonal from the center block. The platforms are 13 blocks by 13 blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Sorry about that graphical glitch there. And then 13 in this direction, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then go ahead and fill that in. Alright, and here we have our first platform. You might notice I have left a 5 by 5 hole in the middle. This is going to be our drop chute. In order to set up the drop chute, go ahead and place 3 trap doors on each side on the top of the blocks, and then go ahead and close them all up like this. Next, we're going to come out a few blocks and place a turtle egg in the exact middle of the drop chute. You can place turtle eggs on the sides of blocks, and they don't have to be supported by anything, which kind of makes it a little bit easier. And then we're going to go ahead and surround this egg with 2 trapdoors. So I'm going to do right there and there on all sides. And then close all of these up as well. Now that's actually it for one layer. That's how you build one layer of this farm. Now we're just going to stack several of these on top of each other. Now one optional thing you can do that I've actually done on the Skyfall SMP is punch out these corners for a more rounded platform. All this does is slightly optimize the pigmen pathfinding so that they make their way through the farm a little quicker, but it does come at the price of 4 spawning spaces per platform, so that's a decision that's up to you. It's totally optional whether or not you punch out the corners. In order to add a layer, we're just going to go up 2 and then place another one, and yeah, we're going to repeat the process and create a whole new platform, leaving only 2 blocks in between each platform. Alright, so here we have one of the 4 completed silos, and this has 10 layers. Now the number of layers is variable, so you could make this farm with fewer or more layers. Now obviously the more layers you build, the more spawning spaces you have and the more pigmen are going to spawn, but at some point there's going to be a point of diminishing returns where it's really not worth it to build an extra layer just to get like 1 more pigmen to spawn. So for me, I don't recommend doing any fewer than 5 layers, nor do I recommend doing more than 10. I find 10 to be very efficient. That's what I have here and also what I have in the Skyfall SMP. Now that we have all the layers that we want, the last step for each of these silos is going to be to place glass on the top to prevent ghasts and magma cubes from spawning. To do that, we're just going to go up 3, so we're going to leave 2 blocks of space between the magma and the glass, and then we just make strips of glass that run along with the magma. And these are spaced out by 2 blocks as well, so we're going to go over 2 and then add another strip, like so, and keep adding strips until the top platform is covered. So when you're done, it should look like this. You have glass strips that are spaced 2 blocks apart and 2 blocks above the magma, and again, these prevent ghasts and magma cubes from spawning. And that's it. That is one completed silo of the gold farm. Now, I recommend building all 4 silos because that's how you're going to get a very efficient gold farm. It doesn't really make sense to build fewer than 4, but you technically could. You would just get a much slower farm. Okay, so now we have all 4 silos in, and the majority of the farm is complete. The last things we need to do is to make the killing platform for the pigmen, along with a collection system, and finally an AFK platform up here. We'll start with the killing platform. So from this level right here, we need to go down 24 blocks or more. So that is a 24 block drop right there, and at the bottom we're going to use bottom slabs to make a 5x5 platform that mirrors the 5x5 drop chute. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and extend it out by 5 as well. And we need one of these at each of the 4 drop chutes. So go ahead and make one over there, there, and there as well. Just to make it a little easier if you guys are building this in survival, the edges of the platforms are 9 blocks apart. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks between each of the death platforms. Now for the collection system, I highly recommend using multiple hopper minecarts. This is because this farm produces a lot of items and regular hopper speed just isn't fast enough to keep up with that. So like I said, I use multiple hopper minecarts, and I'll show you guys at least one way of setting that up. So below each of these death platforms, go ahead and place 2 blocks, and then build another 5x5 platform out of any block you want underneath this one, leaving a 1 block gap. Just like this, and then mirror it for all 4. When you're done, it should look like this, with 4 killing platforms, and then the 4 platforms beneath, leaving a 1 block gap. Next, you could just set up, for example, a simple chest array with some hoppers leading into it, like this. So we have hoppers that are just leading into chests, and this can be easily expanded downwards with more chests and more storage. I'm just going to go ahead and mirror this quickly on the other side. Now, in order to do the rail system that's going to have the hopper minecarts on it, we're going to go to the back of each of these killing chambers and add one line that goes all the way across, connecting these 2 units. Then at each of the units, we're going to take out a line of the blackstone, and we'll just put in some redstone blocks. You could leave the blackstone and use levers underneath if you're wanting to cut down on the cost. That's also totally fine. But we'll go ahead and do that on both sides. Again, just redstone blocks. And then lastly, we're going to lay our track. So I'm going to use unpowered rails over the hoppers, and then some powered rails right here. After this, we're just going to go ahead and weave using regular rails and have 1 powered rail on top of each of the redstone blocks. So, you can see we're kind of weaving in and out, leaving a powered rail on top of the redstone blocks. And then when you get to this point, you can just go ahead and use powered rails all along this backside, and they will be totally powered. And then again, on this side, we're going to do the same, weave back and forth. When you're done, it should look something like this, and I have that on both sides. Now, the last thing we're going to do is add actual minecarts to this track. I recommend adding a total of 10 per track, so this track will have 10, and that one will have 10, so we'll go ahead and add those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can see them all going around, and those will be responsible for picking up the drops that are on these platforms and depositing them in the chests, and I'll go ahead and do the same on this side as well. Now again, this is just one example of a collection system you could make. The kind of collection system doesn't really matter, just know that you will need a collection system that will pick up the drops from the death platforms. Alright, so now that we have both the collection system as well as the main spawning farm, the last thing we're going to need is our AFK platform. So to make this AFK platform, just go to the middle of your farm and build up until you reach build height. And here we are at build height. Once you're at build height, just go ahead and build a platform that's about 3 by 3, like so. Now, if you were to AFK here, you would be totally safe. However, if you are kind of like squeamish about that, like maybe some disaster strikes and you would die and you lose your items, there is actually enough room built into the design of the farm for you to add a full room to this. So if you wanted, you could make a little room down here where you can hide and be enclosed, but that's totally optional and you should be totally safe on this platform up here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is actually the complete farm. Now let's go ahead and turn ourselves off of peaceful so we can watch this thing work. Alright, let's go ahead and pop into free cam and watch this farm work. As you can see, this farm is working perfectly. The pigmen are spawning on all of our spawning platforms, immediately aggroing onto the turtle eggs, and then falling to our death where their drops are collected by our collection system. Now these rates are in real time, I'm not speeding this up at all, this is just how fast this farm works and how many pigmen it spawns. The last thing I want to do before I end the video is to do an AFK test so that we can see how fast this farm is, so you can decide for yourself if you think it's worth building in your own world. So yeah, let's go ahead and AFK here for exactly 1 hour and see how much gold we get. Alright, and we're back. It's been a little bit over an hour. During that AFK session, I went and had a slice of delicious triple berry pie left over from Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope you guys enjoyed the holiday and got to spend loads of time with family and friends. But now let's go ahead and check the profits from our AFK session. Now, before I went AFK, I did add a second row of chests and hoppers here just to make sure that the system didn't get full during the AFK session. But let's go ahead and open these up and see what we got. Oh my gosh, are these awful? Okay, so it looks like it goes down a little bit. That makes sense because the hopper minecarts are going in this direction. But wow, that is a ton of gold, and I'm assuming it's the same on this side as well. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and craft up all of these nuggets into golden ingots so that we can get a better idea of how much this farm produced in 1 hour. Alright, so I've tallied up the gold, and let's go ahead and see what we've got. Here is the total amount of gold that this farm produced in 1 hour. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that the rates for this farm is roughly 1 full chest of golden ingots per hour, and I think that's pretty awesome. Now, there's definitely faster farms out there, but I'm pretty proud of this one. It's relatively simple and easy to build, and it's totally passive. On top of that, it generates an entire chest of gold per hour, so I really like it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any feedback or questions regarding this farm, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, but no worries if not. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one, and in the meantime, shine on, little stars. Shine on.